Hey, Bob.
Hey, oh my God. Sorry. Uh, Zoom is not recognizing my camera, even though my system is. I will be back in a minute.
No worries.
I got a new computer. It took me like a whole minute to find the unmute button. I just switched to Windows from a Mac after 10 years.
It worked. We can hear you.
There we go.
Can see you now, Bob.
Yep. Zoom on Linux it's always a gamble if it will actually work or not.
Hello, everyone. We're going to give folks a few more minutes to join us before we get started. It's nice to see so many people on the call. Really appreciate it. And just for your awareness, today we're going to talk about the tag reboot proposal and presentation of consolidating all the feedback that we had on the issue from all the tag leaders and community members. We really appreciate your thoughtful comments on that so that we can provide you all with an informed presentation on kind of what we're thinking that incorporates all of that feedback. And Ricardo, I've got you as the host for today. Is that right? Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Over to you.
I'll be quite quick. So let me just share for the usual introduction. All right, should be able to see my screen. So this is the agenda for today, the usual items. And then as Emily just mentioned, the big item is the tag reboot and proposal. So reminder about the Linux Foundation antitrust policy notice as usual. And Bob also asked me to go through quickly through the remaining open votes. So the only one is in total. It's on votes, so all the TOC members, if you could go and check and cast your vote, that would be appreciated. And that's basically all we have. So I suggest that we skip the rest of the items here. We can do them offline and we go straight to the topic. Is that okay, Bob, Karina? Yeah. So Karina, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I think. Here, let me get the right tab up. Thank you. Okay, does everybody see this?
Yep.
Yes? Yay.
Yep.
Okay. Tag restructuring, tag reboot. All right, we have been talking about this for a long time. The TOC has. And we'll dive right in. Now, if you read the pre-read issue, again, why we are rebooting the tags. So a tag it's a long-lived group that was formed by the TOC back in 2019, if you want a little history. They initially were formed as SIGs, and they were renamed in 2021 as tags. Now, they were initially formed to scale the TOC's leadership. And as part of this whole reboot, a reminder that all the charters and purpose objectives will be updating and clarifying those as well for the CNCF. And this will all be voted on by the TOC. So again, why are we rebooting the tags? These are some of the reasons. We've lost a lot of domain experts. Don't have to rehash what's happened over the last 5 years. Had various members burn out, and a result, there maybe some onboarding hasn't happened that should. Also, the TOC hasn't necessarily given specifics that the TOC is really looking for to the tags. And overall, this needs to happen. And it's been talked about for a very long time. Ultimately, the main purpose of rebooting the tags is to prepare for the next 10 years in cloud native. Now, if you remember, we had all these celebrations, yay, Kubernetes 10 years, cloud native, and here we are. We need to set this up and scale for the next 10 years. Look at where we were when the SIG/tags were formed back in 2019. There were 30 projects. If I've done my 32, if I've done my math correctly. And today there are 209, and I am including the ones that were archived because those added to the work of the entire CNCF. All right, so 209 projects. And this is why we've had difficulty scaling. So what we're looking at, upcoming changes to the tags. Again, we're looking to consolidate the number of tags, and we'll get to that. I know everybody's eager. We will look at transitioning existing working group efforts to the new structure. And we're introducing new concepts. So we're taking away the concept of a working group, and we're introducing sub-projects and initiatives, which align with how the Kubernetes SIGs are doing work. And again, any previous working group can apply to be a new sub-project or initiative, and it'll be looked at and approved by the TOC as it aligns with the new objectives. So a couple upcoming changes. We'll be moving all the project presentations and reviews out of the tags themselves. So the tags themselves will be less burdened by those asks, and then refocusing the tag work to be in line with TOC requirements, which is primarily providing a service to projects as well as providing a service to the TOC. Those are what the TOC is looking for when the TOC looks at sub-projects or initiatives and the work that the tags are doing. And a major cleanup of all the tag websites and repositories to consolidate that so that tags aren't burdened with that administrative overhead. This new leadership will be implemented after KubeCon. And if you will be at KubeCon at the Maintainer Summit on March 31st, we have 2 workshops. One is a reboot workshop talking about new initiatives, coming up with new ideas for the new initiatives, and bringing projects together into these areas, as well as a project reviews workshop. And again, all maintainer track talks and any sessions that are already accepted to KubeCon, we ask that you look at the new tag structure and guidelines and look at how you are presenting the work that you are presenting at KubeCon. All right, let's keep going. So how are we doing this? Okay, one is, and Bob, you're welcome to jump in here as well. This is the new component structure of the tags. The TOC is the top level technical governing body. A technical advisory group is one of the primary organizational units underneath the TOC. A sub-project is an ongoing or permanent project or program. And then an initiative, these are lightweight, tightly scoped, and time-bound.
A good example would be like you want to publish a white paper. It has some sort of deliverable or kind of, some defined exit criteria of some kind. It could even be, we are sort of investigating the space and we plan to, sort of present our summary on it, on this date. The main thing is that it is generally tied, like there's expectations and criteria of what the goal of that group is, as well as some kind of like output.
And it will be tightly monitored as well, reported out. And if the initiatives are not completing work, they will be spun down so that efforts can be shifted to work that is being done. And Bob has kindly already put into the TOC repo drafts of the templates. If you look into a template, look to create an issue, the template's already there for initiatives. Again, they are draft templates because it was done quickly last night. Thank you so much, Bob. But to give you an idea. And then also a community group. Now, some of you are already involved with community groups. If you go to community.cncf.io, they're wonderful. It's already a program that is run by the Linux Foundation. And as we go through the new structure, we may find that some groups, some communities within our current tag structure may wish to be a community group instead. And if you're part of a community group, you can still apply for initiatives within a tag. So please don't think that you're not part of the overall community if you decide to go that route. We value all of you and all the work that you've been doing because it has been a lot.
Karina, there are a couple of questions in the chat. Maybe we can take. I saw Marina asking for. Marina, do you want to ask, and John as well?
Sure, yeah. I didn't want to interrupt, so I was just typing in chat. But yeah, I wanted to clarifying whether all of the sub-projects and initiatives that are under the tags rather than under the TOC, whether those still need TOC approval.
For now, we're looking at the TOC to approve those. And then as we get moving and revisit, go ahead. Somebody was going to talk.
Yeah, because my concern is just that it frequently takes multiple weeks to do a TOC vote on initiatives, and so I just worry about the turnaround time of getting things started if we have to like preemptively wait.
for this reboot, go ahead, Emily. I know you'll.
I was gonna say, for right now, because this is kind of our first time into that foray, I'm not anticipating the initiatives or the sub-projects to require a full formal TOC vote. We do still need to figure out how we want to run this. I think in the beginning, it's important that we have good awareness for everybody about what's going on, what kinds of activities, so that we can kind of test out these new processes, and then we'll start relaxing a lot of the kind of approvals and oversight as we get more of the hang of this. That's to ensure consistency and make sure that everyone is aware. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to grab your question and make sure that we add it into an action item for the TOC to make sure that we're very clear on timelines for when that cutover happens and how those approvals are actually going to work. Because to your point, we do not want to slow down the tags and the progress that they are currently making or are anticipating to make within the next couple of months. So we will take that back as an action for us to resolve.
It just to reinforce, it's kind of like we're in the bootstrap phase versus what is kind of expected long term. So it's like a lot of this is really for the formation period of all this before we kind of get into the, day-to-day more operations.
Okay. Thank you. I was answering some of the questions in chat, and let's see, community groups are separate from end user groups. Community groups are, again, if you go to community.cncf.io, you'll see we have virtual community groups in addition to the KCDs and other regional groups.
One other, sorry.
Go ahead.
One other thing with the community groups is those actually have much further reach than sort of the groups that we've had sort of like directly underneath the tags, because it like community.cncf.io is like one of the main entry points for people to get involved in the ecosystem. It's the home for like all the meetups, the KCDs, and like the virtual things like the was it the Kubernetes book club? What was it? There's a couple other things like there, but like those have proven very successful in reaching a large audience. That was sort of the reason behind it. Plus, there's like no administrative overhead on like our side in terms of running things.
Thank you. A lot of these questions will be asked or answered as we keep going. Matt, briefly, because we have 45 minutes, if you think it's...
Yeah, no, I was just saying I have a list of books and I've been waiting to see what this new restructuring will be and how it will help us do things and make things and create things and community and connect with people in the community and to drive, what our vision is. So rock on. Please continue. I know you have a lot of content to cover. I was just being
Thank you, Matt.
nerdy.
I was preemptively thinking I knew what you were going to say, and we're so happy that you're here. So thank you for being here. Okay. We'll keep going, and then we will keep answering questions. So first of all, the one working group that is pulled up into the TOC, to the TOC level, is not as a working group. There are a few initiatives under the AI working group that we'll need to see them resubmitted as an initiative and see what the timeline is going forward for those. And that's something that we can dive into further detail with the current members of that working group. So that will be at the TOC level. There are two sub-projects that we've pulled up under the TOC. One sub-project is the project reviews sub-project. So answering some of your questions. Now, the project reviews will be in this sub-project. It will consist of governance reviews as well as technical reviews. And if you look at the team, a team is chairs from each tag and technical leads from each tag. So this will be done in a round robin fashion. An issue will be submitted for a project review, and depending on if it's governance, technical, or both, it will, in a round robin fashion, be assigned to chairs and TLs. It does not have to be a specific domain. The person or persons that are assigned there to drive to completion the review, and pull in domain experts as needed.
It's not 100% on the, the leads. Pulling in domain experts and like that is expected. And part of this was also just to try and get more people exposed to these things. Sorry, like if you're going to cover this in a second grade, I could stop here. I just wanted to highlight that part of the idea of this was to try and get more people circulating and familiar with some of these processes and the things that are being expected of projects.
So as leadership in the community, chairs and technical leads and technical advisory groups really should have an understanding what a project entails, the governance a project should have, as well as the technical production readiness, so to speak, that a project should essentially have. So this will give more leaders in the community exposure, as Bob was just saying, to those aspects. Okay. I'm going to move on from here. However, I wanted to also note that the projects team from the Linux Foundation will be helping with the project presentations. They're not mandatory, and there will be a mix of a project uploading a presentation, a one-off into the CNCF YouTube to view for anybody that's doing a project review, as well as the live stream where pull in certain topics that multiple projects can attend and dive into further technical specifics. So this is one of those more information to come, but the goal is to scale and give projects as well as all our technical leadership a larger venue to view and see what all the projects are doing.
Yeah. Quick little, we're essentially going to start up a CNCF community meeting that will likely, run into its a chat loop back off, which is a current sort of like popular thing where we have people explore projects. But it is mostly just to try and get to that larger audience and share, enabling the tags to share, their thoughts on the ecosystem and current trends there, have projects go over, like do some of their presentations and also hit a larger audience. A lot of this is to just try and create more avenues for people to get engaged with the tags.
So this will be good for the tags as well as projects themselves. Okay, next sub-project is the contributor strategy sub-project. Tag contributor strategy has done so much amazing work and captured so much amazing information and contributed the governance reviews. This sub-project will be pulling contributor strategy to the TOC level, and this will also give more, again, community members and leadership insight into what projects are asking. So as part of this, projects will be submitting an issue into the TOC repo that will be assigned to, you see here, the team, again, our chairs from each tag that are assigned into the sub-project, and it will be round robin assigned through the team. Also, we'll be recruiting community managers of projects that are healthy projects so that they can help with issues as they come in. What we'll also see is at the TOC level, we will see patterns coming through of what projects are looking for, what issues they're having, and what we can ask the tags to look into. as these issues are being closed out and addressed. Okay, so and again, as Bob mentioned, it'll give more of our technical community exposure into all the projects. Okay, moving on. There's a question from Josh Burkus. So you're dissolving tag contributor strategy. Yes, it's not a dissolve, it's a I don't know if Bob or Emily, you want to?
It's essentially going to, like, some of the core functionality will be moving up to the TOC, and it will be able to execute as a like subproject under the TOC. Some of the other aspects of it, where like the groups where they can get together and talk, are mostly going to move over to community groups, but they can still create initiatives for, like, explicit pieces of work, or as a thing to help organize work.
Okay. We're
Okay,
gonna get
let me
into
comment for the record that this was not discussed with any leadership of the current tag contributor strategy. This is a complete surprise to us, and I just wanted to have that on the record.
It has been discussed, just not, like, I'd say, like, in its entirety. Like,
we do know that there will be concerns with this new structure, and we can take those and we can meet with the tags individually offline. So moving forward. Thank you, Josh. Okay, moving forward. All right, this is what a lot of you have been looking for. We've already talked about the artificial intelligence initiatives, the project review sub-project, contributor strategy sub-project, and here are the 5 names. We're going to dive into the scope of each tag. Okay. So looking into the scope, you'll see where we've shifted, where we've merged, and throughout this process, we've looked at, again, what will help the overall ecosystem and the next 10 years of cloud native. And I know some of you who are here will like this and there are some that won't, but we're going to dive into each of these, okay? All right, so for tag developer experience, I was specifically thinking about you, Mauricio, on that one.
I'm just loving that there is something that says developer experience in the screen, so I cannot be more happy.
Thank you. All right, and I know why you probably hate this as well. So, okay, here are the scopes, and we can again dive further. We only have 30 minutes to go for right now. As we're looking through what initiatives, because remember, we've moved the project reviews out of the tag, and we're looking at initiatives such as how you can help projects. What are API design best practices that will help the overall ecosystem? And as projects are coming through, one thing that I wanted to mention and that I forgot to mention is that as you saw the 209 projects that are coming through, we have a backlog of projects that would like to move to incubation or to graduation. And one of the biggest things that the TOC is seeing, biggest issues, is that projects aren't ready. A due diligence is not a checklist. The application that you see is a checklist, but the due diligence itself is not a checklist. So we really need the tags to help projects understand things like this. How do you work with a database, right? projects have seen issues with etcd, or, they want to integrate with the Postgres database. So as you're thinking of initiatives that your new tags, your new areas can work on, we put in here just some examples of what are possibilities. Okay. Thank you for the +1s. Atul, I'm so glad you're here too. Thanks, Sergio and Ihor. Okay. All right, workloads foundation. And Mauricio, this is not platform engineering. I know there might be a tendency there can be aspects. So this is where I thought you might hate this one too. Okay, so the foundations of our workloads and our applications, right? We talked about developer experience, and now the foundations of our workloads. So again, initiative examples. The batch working group, I don't know, Alex, if you're here, but a great example would be a best practices white paper for batch systems, or a GitOps best practices white paper. A service that this tag could offer to projects would be reviewing how they're using GitHub, how they're using, I know, Bob, you had a lot of great ideas here too. Wondered if you wanted to dive into.
So like one example as a potential, like as a sub project would be like a lot of our projects actually struggle with their CI. We've had a lot of people that like, especially like writing good GitHub actions, doing things, writing things in a secure way, because like GitHub actions have a lot of foot guns, ways to optimize them. Like we had one instance where a project was using an extremely large runner, but it turned out to be for a single threaded job. So there was no point in moving larger. And that's something that like a lot of projects actually really need help with. There's other things where it comes to like, you know, testing across like multiple different architectures and platforms. There's a lot of places where projects do need help in this sort of thing.
Just one quick question, Karina. Do you want to go through all the tags in one go and then we do questions at the end, or should we take the questions in the chat right away?
I think it would be good to go through these, because then we can.
Oh, okay. So people can record the questions in the chat. We go once through it and then we have discussion.
Thank you, because we might answer a lot of your questions. Okay. Next. Tag infrastructure. Now, Alex, I know we've talked about tag infrastructure before as well. So this would be pulling in data storage, networking, DNS. See it here. So some examples, initiative examples, two that have already been put out by Tag Storage, which are fantastic, are the Cloud Native Disaster Recovery White Paper and the Data on Kubernetes White Paper. The disaster recovery could be expanded to include business continuity for, just spitballing here. So multi-cluster performance and optimization is something we threw out as well. But as you all talk and come meet at the Maintainer Summit, and if you're not at Maintainer Summit, you can discuss async as well, or what are some good initiatives that will help projects themselves in the ecosystem. Moving on, and thank you for everybody capturing into, I'm not monitoring the chat right now, but please capture your questions there and we'll go through them shortly. Okay, naming is hard. So tag operational resiliency. We've seen that what cloud native architectures and applications truly help with is planning for downtime, a resilient architecture, right? Applications stay up while parts of the infrastructure may go down, regions, etc. Really, what will help projects and will help the ecosystem as a whole is to look at these areas. How are we optimizing resources? How are, being more efficient? And the TAG environmental sustainability has had their green reviews, which not everybody may know exactly what a green review is. And it's an amazing, amazing example of resource optimization that can help reduce costs for members and the community, people that are using projects in the community overall at a global level. Examples are, cost efficiency, best practices. As we look at AI, right, it's an explosion of resources, performance testing best practices. And I know this community can help come up with so many more great examples of initiatives. Security and compliance. Security, the security assessments that are run out of Tag Security are a perfect example of initiatives. Well, keeping them at, going back to our sub-projects, keeping the security assessments as a sub-project, and each assessment under that would be an initiative under that sub-project. Compliance, auditing, threat modeling, really highlighting more aspects of how projects can really look at their security. We've seen some that are applying for graduation that Marina, you drove it with the rest of some other members that are here from Tag Security, but some projects just aren't ready to be at the graduation level, and that may be because of security, right? So this is really important, and it's one of the tags that will help with the cleanup, but right now we haven't seen a lot of need for change. Okay. Bob put this together, which is excellent, and thank you. Another problem that we've seen is that we really need to define the terms, the leadership ladder, and be more specific around our leadership so that we can rotate members through, leadership through, so that we create a larger pool of technical leaders in our communities. It's okay to be emeritus. It's wonderful that everybody has been involved, and we appreciate all of you. And we have heard that we do need to have the staggered terms. Okay.
But one other comment quick on the terms is like, that's not term limits. It is more so like a checkpoint. Like we've seen this repeatedly where people kind of will wind up feeling sort of like trapped in a role where they can't step down. And it's one of the main contributing things to that's like leading to burnout. And having terms both like for people that are interested in, potentially moving to leadership, that gives them like, hey, this is a point where I can potentially become a lead. And for people that are currently a lead, it gives them a, point where they can step down, or in something to plan around versus just kind of some of the ad hoc nature as it currently is.
Okay, thank you. Now we did save some time for questions. So we can start going through some of those. As Bob mentioned, bare metal was on the slide, and I don't know how it got removed, but thank you, Leo, for calling that out. It is very important. And it will be added back in. And Dylan, I think, dropped, but thank you. He acknowledged that we really did look through everybody's feedback, and it was a lot, and we really appreciate all your comments in the issue and all the discussions. And yes, Marina, tag security leadership is absolutely the potential leadership for tag security and compliance. A note on the compliance sub-project, or the compliance working group, recommend that it is reapplied as a sub-project with the specific deliverables that they are looking at for initiatives. Leo, the difference between contributor strategy and tag developer experience. Okay, just for everybody else as well. Contributor strategy, a project, what happens is lots of projects will come in and ask for guidance on how to community build, how to do governance, and it could be a number of things, and those will be captured there, and they could be assigned to a tag for further, but really the tag developer experience is technical specifics and providing and initiatives that are helping projects specifically out at a technical level. Okay.
Yep.
Opening up for any other questions.
One other thing
So-
with the tag CS quick, with it going up to the TOC as a, sort of like a function, part of the goal is to, make sure we can get more people rotating through and getting more people experienced with what, good governance looks like, and how to, what good community management looks like. Whereas right now it can kind of be like, I kind of hate, I don't want to say like hate, but like when it's like, go talk to tag CS. Right now, tag CS, there's, it's hard to actually get more people involved in it, even when we're advocating it and telling people to get involved. So hopefully this will be a bit more of like a forcing function.
All right, Karina, I tried to collect some of the questions that are not answered. So I think, Leon, you asked if leadership would need to reapply after KubeCon, or what would be the process? Was that it?
Yeah,
That-
since
that's one of
the tags are changing, I was wondering if we should like if we're following the same process as we did before with the nominations to the TOC repo, or how it would work.
Emily, did you raise your hand to this? Okay.
Yeah,
Emily.
so we don't have an answer for this. We need to define what that process looks like. There are several leaders who were recently elected to their chair role within our tags. We want to try to honor that as much as possible because you have put in the work, you've put in the effort, as many of our existing tag leaders and chairs have. We also want to ensure that there are enough opportunities for existing chairs that have struggled to step back, give them the opportunity to do so, but also maintain some continuity in the tag leadership and governance. So it's on the TOC to take an action to figure this out. If you all have ideas or suggestions on how that should work, we would be open to hearing them. But bear in mind that there's a lot of moving things, there's a lot of unknowns, and you all are asking really good questions. It's helping us form a checklist because, as we've said before, this has never been done. We are trying this based off of everyone's feedback.
Wait, just if it's possible to just tag on. So the timeline for this is not that we're after KubeCon, we're starting with the new structure immediately. That's what I'm hearing from that reply.
Correct. We're working on KubeCon kind of softly rolling this out, creating a little bit more of the process and the structure associated with it after KubeCon, when everybody comes back and they've had their time to like recover from that event, then we will actually formally start this process. So that's new leadership, new positions, making sure that the applications are open and available. So we have a lot of work to do on, for the TOC between now and then to ensure that this is successful post KubeCon. So we appreciate your questions and your patience with us.
All right, Josh, you have your hand raised, so I guess on this topic.
Yeah. Well, the so TagCS has several active working groups, which would be sub-projects under the new structure, such as the Deaf and Hard of Hearing working group, the BIPOC working group, etc. Where are those going to go under the new structure?
So most of those would become community groups, and anything that they're actually doing in terms of output would become initiatives. Like one of the issues that we've struggled with is there's a lot of working groups and various things out there where it's a lot of people get together and use it to meet, but not necessarily work on, you know, a piece of work. It's a lot of discussion and talking, but not actually, you know, doing something for the TOC, the projects, the tags, or like the ecosystem as a whole. So a lot of the groups that are more discussion focused will shift to become community groups. And if they have specific things they want to do, those can become initiatives.
Okay, so then the next question I had noted is from Marlo on scope and size of the tags. Do you want to ask Marlo?
Yeah, these seem to be, or I guess are, not seem to be quite a bit larger than we had prior to tags. So my question is, has there been any thought about meeting structures or how this remains cohesive and somewhat seamless and painless on people that have been previously involved? My concern is losing people that have been involved in various projects prior and helping them find a path to where they are now or should be in this structure.
Thank you for bringing that up. We've thought a lot about that. And as Bob was just mentioning, some of them, the path may be to a community group. The path may be to create an initiative for some of these, for some people. So these are a larger scope, but that allows for interoperability discussions, allows for less siloed discussions and more that will help be more impactful for a greater number of projects.
I'm not sure how much that helps because sometimes if someone is interested in, I'm from environmental sustainability. So some of those people there are interested primarily in sustainability and then dropping them basically into have operational resilience. They're not necessarily going to have as much interest in the other pieces. There's definitely some crossover between observability, but not necessarily in all the other places there.
Honestly, if they want to just talk about environment sustainability, that can be a community group.
Yeah, and then you lose all the work because there's active work going on within the green reviews.
The green reviews
background.
themselves can function as like a sub-project.
Yeah, my concern is losing the passion because one of the reasons that we have been successful is because of the passion behind the people, or the people behind the passion. So I'd like to try to make sure we minimize how many people we move that are lose that are actively contributing to various projects.
Matt, I'm going to quickly have Emily jump in because I'm sure she wants to respond to this one.
So a lot of the tags and community members that have been engaged in tags, even up to this date and still continuing into the future, first show up because they're passionate or interested about a topic. A lot of that has to do with discovery of how do we apply these passions to technical outcomes and deliverables within the foundation that assist with the mission of the foundation and making cloud native ubiquitous. It's also increasing awareness and understanding about what gaps do we have in our ecosystem to solve some of these technical challenges. And in the environmental sustainability space, that is also very important. So we want to support all of our community members in their passions and their pursuits. This, as I understand it, will cause confusion for existing community members who show up to learn more about green reviews and what's happening there, and for community members that show up to understand what is the state of green computing and environmental sustainability and cloud native. We want to create a more formalized structure for both of those avenues of discussion to happen, as well as mechanisms between those groups so they can engage in a dialogue. So the effort that's put into green reviews is more expansive than just singularly looking at projects, but providing frameworks and opportunities for some of our projects to do better on their own and be self-sufficient. So I fully expect that any sub-project or initiative, whether or not it's at a TOC level or a tag level, will remain engaged with the corresponding community groups of interest that match up with their expected mission and group. That might mean that there's a meeting dedicated for those kinds of discussions. Here's what we're hearing about in the Green Computing Foundation versus what Green Reviews is actually working on, making sure there's ample coordination and communication between those entities. But ultimately, what we want to ensure is that everyone is set up for success here, that our community members that are passionate and just want to talk about these things can do so and find a home to do that with a mechanism and an avenue that they can take their ideas and turn it into a project with a deliverable and find their sense of community outside of what their immediate realm is, ensuring that environmental sustainability works not only with observability, but also with infrastructure and troubleshooting and energy optimization, cost efficiency, and performance. And that's a lot of what this structure is intended to do, is to make sure that we are not working in silos any longer, but we are actually moving forward together in the cloud native ecosystem.
Thank you, Emily.
I think Matt, you had your hand raised. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just had some initial feedback and a couple high-level questions or suggestions. First of all, I love all of this. I think that even if, I think that this is something we should be talking about at KubeCon, and it's an opportunity to kind of fill out a lot of these places where contribution could really help and new community members would really help. I think communication about how all this is going to work, like how do we have these various tags that are each going to have their own subgroups with meetings and stuff? How are they going to be a cohesive unit and have an identity? And then how are all of these tags going to communicate with each other? We've tried lots of different models, so I look forward to that. The second of two things was, will the CNCF Foundation be able to help with project management, scheduling? Like there's a lot of, if you think about an engineering organization doing all of these things, with thousands of people and more.
I can say on the same tip, yes, that's one of the main things Rianne will be doing.
Yeah, cool. I mean, we need to train the trainers kind of and take that kind of a scalable approach, I would assume. So I guess as a 2B, 2 sub B, is there sort of a learning or training program already conceived? If not, we should have one about like the rollout. So like, well, this is a huge undertaking in the right direction, right? So I'm excited. So those are my initial thoughts. Well, lastly, in tag observability, we do have a very active work group like query standardization, and they actually have some technical outcomes and artifacts now. And they've done a huge amount of work. And so it'll be cool to have a place where they can go run fast, right? So that's as feedback, that's cool too.
So as part of this, it would be great to capture community members that will be at Maintainer Summit to continue this conversation as well, and about how to help drive that non-siloed, cohesive approach. And Bob, where do you think the best place would be to capture that within this meeting issue or a new issue for anybody that will be at Maintainer Summit?
Let's see. I would probably take a look. Let me pull up the issue.
And thank you, Marla. That was a great suggestion about a pipeline from community groups to technical groups. So, and we'll make sure we capture all of this.
I think we can use the current issue.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. We'll use the current issue then. And Abby, that's actually a fair question. And maybe this is a follow-up for Bob that we'll put in the channel, the TOC channel. Registration for Maintainer Summit. There's some people that have been waiting, so we'll follow up on that for all the members that will be at Maintainer Summit.
Also, if you know other, sorry.
Oh, I was going to mention that for virtual attendance, it's not possible right now, but we'll make sure that we have an avenue to include all of you that aren't able to be there to be in the discussions as well. All right, go ahead, Bob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was also just saying, like, if you know, like, if you're involved with projects or whatever, please spread the word on registering for the Maintainer Summit. A lot of folks are still used to it just being the Kubernetes Contributor Summit, and haven't thought about potentially registering for it. One other comment and why it's not on the actual main KubeCon page for registering is the last time we actually did that, we got hundreds of people signing up that were not contributors or anything like that at all. So it's the separate page mostly to just help us manage the influx of people registering and making sure we have the right people there.
Correct. I don't see any other question or comment that was not answered. Is there anything we missed, or just raise your hand?
I had a quick.
Yeah. Marlo, was that you? Yeah. Go. I couldn't get Marlo.
I'll try again.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It'd be nice to have those of us not able to make Europe to be able to dial in remotely and have a chat channel.
That's something we cannot support for the Maintainer Summit. Unfortunately, like, when you do that for remote AV, it's honestly really expensive, and for discussions, it's a really terrible experience, unless you sink a lot of money into having a lot of additional mics and things like that.
That being said, we do not want to exclude any community members because of time zones or regional availability. We will work on a mechanism to ensure that if you are not able to make the Maintainer Summit in person, that you have the same ample opportunity to engage in a dialogue regarding these things. We will figure out what that looks like, but we do not want you all to feel that you are not being heard or that you do not have a pathway to raise any concerns or ideas to us regarding this. Bob, if you can take an action for the TOC to discuss how we will actually do that, I would greatly appreciate it. In the interim, we would like to have a Slack channel set up, either reusing tag chairs, which is probably a good mechanism for this. It is a public channel, so that we can engage in discussions therein. And we'll use that for a lot of the Maintainer Summit kind of discussions and workshops, and however we are going to ensure that you all have an engagement outside of that venue.
I took a note as well to follow up. So we have 3 minutes left. Maybe I know. Sorry, there's Matt. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Really quick, could we go back to using discussions on GitHub? For some of these things that are like not like an issue per se, but more a topic, or like many of these questions, like it might that format, the forum kind of format might be useful and free and open and stuff. Just idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Regarding discussions, we need to figure that out. We had initially started discussions as a mechanism for having a lot of these dialogues. However, we had inconsistent engagement, largely primarily by the TOC. We had a lot going on at the time. So we need to take it back upon ourselves to evaluate how best we want to make use of that communications channel, the differences and balances between that and the Slack channel. I believe we had Craig Brox bring this up to us in the past, some of the confusion about where to engage the TOC. So we'll take that as an action as well. Bob,
Yeah,
if you can.
I think most people don't mind so much where, as long as we get some guidance and we all go there, so we can. Yeah.
Yep. One last thing before we end this discussion today, I want to extend a sincere and heartfelt thank you to all of our community members who took the time out of their work days and out of their personal lives to provide feedback on this proposal. I know that we've said this has been years of discussion and going on. It has been years. We've repeatedly engaged and tried to understand how do we make the tags more successful, more effective, and solve some of the problems that you all have escalated to us and are currently experiencing. Right now, this proposed structure is our current best path to do that. And I also would like to extend a much more meaningful thank you to Karina and Bob, who have worked probably far more hours than any of us realize on taking everyone's feedback, reading through it thoughtfully, considering where you're coming from and your perspective and what your concerns are, so that we can try to make this work best for everyone. We know that not everyone will be happy with these outcomes. We know that it is a huge change and there are a lot of unknowns. Remember, though, that this is a volunteer organization, and as long as you are passionate and engaged, we are going to do our best to make this work for everyone in a way that continues to move Cloud Native forward. So thank you all.
All right, I think that's a perfect ending. I think it's well deserved, and we are right on the hour. So thank you everyone for attending today. This has been awesome, and definitely we'll follow it up. So thank you. Have a nice evening or day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karina.
Later all.
Thank you. Bye.